Well, hello everybody. Today I was going to just make a video solely on Canada because I'm tired of the ignorance and stupidity coming from north of the border. But as you all know, this last week Donald Trump got a ceasefire in the Middle East, was trying and getting the hostages back and all this stuff. And as the celebratory, my wife's phone is ringing. But as all the celebration was going on, take it off speaker, honey. Anyway, my wife is being inconsiderate. Anyway, as all that was going on, the Chinese sent a message to most of the nations of the Western world saying that they were no longer going to provide rare earth minerals. They have some of the biggest deposits in the world. The United States does have some, but we quit mining them because the loony lefters did not want us to produce rare earth minerals, and we basically become reliant on the Chinese, which was a really stupid thing to do, left-wing loons. Canada has a bunch too. They're not mining it because in Canada the left-wing loons have control of their government. They have a number of parties stretching from far left to really far left. That's why they're not exporting rare earth minerals, why they're not exporting oil and natural gas and all that stuff. They've decided to let their country go down the tubes rather than providing the world with the resources that they have. And largely the United States in some aspects is guilty of the same exact behavior. But Donald Trump has reacted, saying basically he's going to put 100% tariff on everything coming out of China. In other words, he's going to cut them off totally, which I believe in that case would be the right thing to do. The stock markets reacted and went down a lot, but there's being the shift in the world supply chains and trade is changing like never before. The reason why I included the China deal in with the video I'm doing on Canada is because the track we were going down with Canada I totally agree with. But I'm afraid that because of what the Chinese did, that it could derail all of Donald Trump's progress with Canada. Because, to you Canadians out there, you've been treated like a state since World War II, maybe even before largely. And that has to stop. We had a $261 billion, the Canadians had a $261 billion trade surplus with us. Just last year in 2024, that's money taken out of our economy that we can't use. For some reason in schools on both sides of the border, economics was not taught. And our trade imbalance across the world has been horrific. And that's the reason why, if you go back and look at my first video, I said that America had a middle class loss. That's because there's almost no middle class left in America. There's the rich and there's the poor. the middle class as I grew up with does not exist here in the United States of America. But Canada has gotten a lot richer over the years, and they didn't mind it when GM moved production to Canada, or when Ford moved production to Canada, when Chrysler, now / Stellantis, moved production to Canada. All those things were all right. You didn't hear the Canadians say, oh, we're creating a rust belt across the Midwest of America, because that's where the automotive jobs came from. Or when they took steel jobs, or they took aluminum jobs, or they took even lumber jobs, and a bunch of other jobs that the Canadians took that came out of, a lot of the jobs that were taken came out of the Midwest. Here, like in Michigan, those automobile jobs primarily came out of Michigan, where we used to have big giant plants that are gone. They've been gone so long they even bulldozed the big giant factories down. And where the steel was, a lot of those factories are gone, or they've been shuttered since the 70s and 80s. But somehow the Canadians didn't get that. The Canadians didn't get the memo. And Donald Trump wants it back. It's just going to happen at once. But this deal with China, with what China's doing with the rare earth minerals, could ultimately derail a lot of that. Because the rare earth minerals, if we can't get them here, got to come from someplace, or our economy shuts down. Well, I got news for the Canadians. If those rare earth minerals don't come and they don't play with what's going on in China, well, it could be really bad for them. Because I don't think Donald Trump's going to play. Now for the Canadians who didn't get the memo, okay, I want to be very clear about this. You are a sovereign nation. You are not a state of the United States. The time for you to be treated like a state of the United States is over. If you're not going to become a state, which you have every right not to be, but you got to understand you're going to go to being treated like a sovereign foreign nation and not a state. You're not going to get to just import into the United States with impunity and take advantage of the American market. You're just not going to. Donald Trump's not going to let that happen. I think the Kuzma, if you don't start playing ball real quick on a lot of other stuff, that NAFTA, let's call it what it really is, the NAFTA agreement, is going to go by the way. And they're going to, because the $261 billion trade deficit to you guys got to be eliminated.